This next video tutorial basically shows how to add some forms of validation to the database. For example, in the students table we've got information about their IDs, first names, surnames and date of birth. Now, generally we don't want to, because we're generating the student ID, we don't really want to do any validation on those. So generally any primary keys, ignore setting any validation rules on those. Now, what we can do is add a validation rule to the date of birth. Because the date of birth is required, we want to make sure that people enter this. So we can add in a rule to basically work out if it is not null. So we can type in each as often is not null. Gives us something that's saying that it needs to be required. We can also change the required option there, but if we use the is not null, when we don't enter something, it'll give us a nice message. So that would be, classed as our presence check. We're making sure that something has to be there. So I've given that. So I've got my screenshot of this, and that will highlight the key information we need for our presence check. The range check. So I'm going to save that. Into design view. What we have here is our exercise results. These are our numbers that are being entered in. So generally, for your validation rule, we're going to look at doing a bit of a range for this one. Obviously, it needs to be greater than or equal to 0. We can't have any negative scores. So this is going to prevent that. Once again, enter a message. So entering that. If you have different exercise results, one for say number of repetitions and another exercise result for times, we can keep those two entirely sort of separate, but the same idea applies. So if we're given anything where we need a minimum and a maximum, we can enter in those values. Bear in mind, in the exam it might say there's a minimum value of that, an upper value of this, then you've got your upper and lower ranges. If you are going to have a range like that, it will change. Rather than being greater than or equal to 0, what we have is comparisons. So we could have between one value and another. So if we've got a range, that's the easiest way to do that. But the key part is this screenshot of down here. Lookup values. These, if we've entered in a bunch of values that we can choose from a menu, they're going to be our best options. Once again, we'll just save that validation rule. So in particular, the monthly fitness results. If we have a look at this one, we've got our months. Now what would make more sense is to actually have a little menu which we can choose from for this. So rather than the text month, what we're going to do, change it to a lookup wizard. In this example, we're going to type in the values we want, and I'm going to add in the options. I'm just going to quickly add. So I've gone and added in all the options. Go through next. We don't want to choose multiple values. We finish it. And what we need to now, this is where lookup values require a bit of different information. We need to go onto the lookup and design view. We need to make sure we change limit to list to yes, because that only lets us choose their options, and we've got our row source is visible there. That is the screenshot we need. If you put the general side, you're not going to get the marks. So I've got the screenshot of those validation rules, and what happens now is when I go into this, I've now got a nice drop down menu where I can choose my options. Makes it a bit easier. Other ways to get your lookup lists. On the linking table, the one that's got all the foreign keys, the student ID, these are actually already set up as lookups, so it's limiting it to list and it's selecting the information from basically the IDs. So we could also print screen that, because it's also showing it's got a combo box already. The final option is a format check, and this is making sure that it fits in a certain pattern, such as a certain number of letters, a certain number of numbers. So in this example I am just going to use the monthly fitness test because I've got the years, and I want to make sure it's always storing 4 digits, so 2012 rather than just 12. So if I go into my design view, on my test year, like means it's got to match something. I've got a set of speech marks, and then remember the hashes represent numbers, so it can be just a number. If I had A to Z, that would just mean any single letter, so that would mean, this example would mean I need 4 numbers and 1 letter. As I just want 4 numbers, type in that. Little error message, enter 4 digits. I'm just going to quickly test it. So if I change this to just a 2-digit one, it's popping up with the error message, enter 4 digits. So that basically concludes the section on validation. Make sure you're showing what field you're working it on and what rules you're applying. You need to make sure that screenshot is visible. Do not crop down too much so that you cannot actually see it.